Hey guys, this is Ritz Blues, and I'm going to be doing a run of Super Back to the Future 2 for the Super Famicom. And it's a pretty interesting game. It's not very well made, but it's not bad either, so you might consider it an awful game. We'll go ahead and get started though. 3, 2, 1, go. So, Super Back to the Future 2 includes such wonderful features as animated characters, unskippable cutscenes, really laggy gameplay, and really difficult floaty ice physics type platforming. So if that's your bag, this is the game for you. So we start off having to travel to the future, the not too distant future of 2015, and we got to go rescue our future kids. So keep them from winding up in jail or something like that. So you'll notice that every time I jump, the game lags a bit, especially if there are enemies on screen. Or pretty much anytime there's any enemies on screen at all, the game will lag. And there's not a real whole lot you can do about it other than avoiding enemies or killing them as quickly as possible. So basically the best thing you can do is just try not to get hit, try to avoid as much as possible. So, we're in the world of the future now. Police officers are walking the streets, shooting at, random kids on their hoverboards with the state-of-the-art, up-to-date technology of their ginormous handguns, revolvers, that shoot bullets the size of their heads. That's okay though, because Marty's hoverboard is bulletproof, so we'll be just fine. Nothing to worry about. There's also hover bikes. Alright, so we've made it around town in downtown Hill Valley, and now we're running into Biff's son, Griff, who's causing problems for Marty's boy. So we need to teach him a lesson by fighting him in a really difficult boss fight. And by difficult, I mean you just hit the jump button until he dies. So after we take Griff out once, he sicks his cronies on us, on their pit bulls. Tetris Boy, Captain Laserbeam, and Barbarisha. So they're going to be the mini-bosses for the next level. Chapter 2-1's password is head, because apparently they didn't want to say butt. So 2-1 looks remarkably similar to 1-1. Except they've added spikes, and mini-bosses, and annoying platforming. So just like Sonic the Hedgehog, if you accidentally hit an enemy without jumping on them, if you just fall on them straight down, you'll take damage. So here's our first mini-boss. Say goodbye. That was Tetris Boy. Aptly named because he throws Tetris blocks at you. And I know I messed up the... Zembar's gonna yell at me for messing up that jump, but I needed the extra hit. So... I probably could have made that jump, but I took it the safe way. So this is a damage boost skip of the mini-boss Barbarisha. She's down in that pit down there. She's named after the Final Fantasy IV Fiend of the Elements because she just spins and spins and spins, and as you well know, if you try and attack Barbarisha when she's spinning, you can't hurt her. Just like the one in this game. If you fall down there, the fight is laggy like crazy, and it takes probably about 20 to 30 seconds to actually kill her, even though she's only got 1 hit point. Also, shame on me, I hit the trap lever. No big deal though. Long fall down to fight Captain Laserbeam and land on his little platform to end the level. So now Griff's come back to teach us a lesson that you can't use hoverboards on water unless you got power. But we'll show him that throwing bats is not how you play baseball. Anyway, there's a handful of ways you can hit Griff in this level. You gotta hit him 6 times, like pretty much every boss. Well, most bosses. You can hit him with the buttons on the fountain, or you can just jump up to hit him if you get just the right crest from off of the ledge. That can be a little bit difficult to do though. So, you know, the buttons make for a good backup. Unfortunately, if you leave the buttons, oftentimes what'll happen is he will just throw them. But there we go, that level's finished. So now Griff's gonna be arrested and Marty's kids will be just fine. Hooray, we've saved the future. So I hope you enjoyed the run. I know it was really short. Kappa. In reality, the real run is about to begin because in that little span of time we just spent kicking Griff's butt, old Biff went back and screwed up the timeline. So now we got to go back to present day Hill Valley, 1985. Which apparently Hill Valley's always been kind of a lively place. This era is filled with a bunch of pink-haired drunk acrobats, for lack of a better word. I don't know why. It also reintroduces us to our good friends, the spike balls, which everybody hates. And guys driving in cars with shotguns and throwing bombs. Because why not? And motorcycle gangs galore. So if I make these 3 jumps there properly and land on this little elevator, this looks like a dead end here, but it's actually a fake wall, and you can completely jump through those spikes, but not these. Those are real. Luckily, it dumps you right on the platform you need to finish the level. If you take the bottom route, it's a narrow tunnel filled with spikes and motorcycles and an annoying elevator, and it's just not fun times. So top route's definitely the way to go. So something happened. Our home is not our home, so we gotta go find our mom. So we go and we find this weird new casino, and it's Biff Tannen's Pleasure Paradise, home of the Biff Tons Museums. The best English casino in Hill Valley. Biff's apparently the luckiest man on earth. He can light money on fire and not get arrested for it and get away with murder. So, we need to make our way through this luxurious part of the Pleasure Paradise. We get to see Biff's personal guards transform before your very eyes into floating cannonballs. That, and for whatever reason, state-of-the-art technology in 2015 is really big revolvers, but in 1985 it's tasers that run along the ground and high-powered spitball shooters, apparently. I don't know. Cork guns? Whatever those things are. So these springs are terrible. If you jump on them wrong, you get stuck. And if you jump on them double wrong, like I just did, then you get double stuck. But if you do that, you get up there exactly right. So that's actually a pretty fast way to get through there. I didn't realize you could actually jump past those guards without catching them, which is nice, because hitting them's a little bit slower. So the worst part about this level is that pretty much there's a whole bunch of different little paths down below that are just basically traps that make you go to the very beginning of the level. They're awful. But the worst part's probably this one right here. That's actually a pit. So is that, and so is that. All three of those will send you bad places. The last one sends you to the absolute beginning of the level, which is awful. So now we get to move on to fight Biff's personal musician, assassin, Jazz Wolf, who also apparently operates his miniature cannonball system for whatever apparent reason. I can't think of a good reason. Can you? Anyway, this is a terrible boss fight. Because the balls have pretty random patterns in terms of where they go. The boss can hit you from pretty much anywhere in the room. And if you hit him too many times, you will underflow his hit points, and he will not die. So, you have to hit him quite a bit to kill him. I think it's 16 hits to kill him. But if you hit him too many times, he won't die. There we go. That's actually a really good wolf fight right there. If you hit him 17 times, his health underflows, and if he kills you on a game over, your angel that appears will actually cause you to get infinite lives. So it's a really broken boss fight, and if you want, for further incentive, I can demonstrate the infinite lives glitch. I actually discovered it through my very first playthrough of the game. By the way, this is probably one of the worst beginnings to any level, is 3-4. It's just these fans are awful. I got past the first two, but that third one is just too much trouble. The first one is nice, they give you coins, but for whatever reason, the rest of them are nothing but spikes and awful things like that. So, it's a good idea to try and damage boost through here if you can, but if you can't, like me, then death is probably your only option. This is probably my worst level, honestly. So, it's one that I'll definitely practice a bit between now and the actual event. Almost made it past that without taking damage. Too much momentum. There we go. Alright, so once we make it past those fans, grab this little safety health here. It's actually critical to completing the rest of the level. What it allows us to do is get an intentional damage boost up ahead, so I absolutely got to keep it for the rest of the level. So one of the other really bad features about this game is if you die, you lose a lot of time. Well, you lose as much time as you spent getting to that point, because there are no checkpoints at all. because game design, what's that? So here we get to do a quick little demonstration of corner clipping there, but it's not really useful. And there's our damage boost. So those spikes take about, I don't know, 5 seconds at a time to disappear, and they only disappear for about a half second. So you can see why damage boosting through there is much better. Well, other than the couple deaths at the beginning, that wasn't a terrible 3-4. Alright. Well, I don't know where we're going. I have no idea where our mom is, but for whatever reason, Biff has a pair of goons who like to wear top hats and throw boomerangs and hammers and carry a shield and throw weights. And yeah, I don't know what to say about these guys other than don't let them get close to each other. So there is a quick kill for that fight, but it's really difficult to catch it just right. You have to basically bounce back and forth between the two of them in such a way that they don't link up. So we find out that Dad's been hanging out at Oak Park Cemetery for the past 12 years. So now we're going to go all the way back down out of the hotel, out of the casino, and go pay Dad a little visit. Apparently, Oak Park Cemetery is a pretty happening place for biker gangs and, I don't know, punk rocker, flaming mohawk guys. I can't explain it. I mean, that was absolutely a critical part of the movie, if you recall, if you've seen it. I mean, you remember that time Marty fought all those bikers and dudes with flaming mohawks? It was great. Good times. Also, this is our first taste of Biff's private army, Red Berets, who fire molasses machine guns. The bullets all come out at the same time. They all come out as a single unit, so if you hit them at all, they disappear. All of them. So, jump that little fence there, and take the upper route, which is much safer, and grants us an extra hit point and extra life. Sometimes the platforms don't work very well in this game. That's the weirdest timing I've ever seen on that. I've never seen that happen before. And once again, Skinner shot us before he even looked at me. I don't know why Skinner's in the graveyard, but he's there in his bathrobe with a shotgun, nowhere near his house. Oh. Well, apparently Dad's dead. Mom neglected to mention that. You know, she might have mentioned something about that before we left the casino, you know, and fought a small army of crazies to get all the way over here. Anyway, Doc comes and finds us, and apparently he thinks this place is nuts too, and he tells us about Biff's almanacs. Now we got to go find it. Which is really inconvenient because we were, you know, basically right outside of his door, and now we have to go all the way back through this graveyard, except now it's raining, and when it rains it pours, and by pours I mean lag. This is by far the laggiest level in the game, and it really doesn't help that there's bad jumping puzzles. Stick to the wall. There we go. Getting past this part is the hardest part of the level, honestly. And catching that platform's narrow, but I did it, so we're good. Anyway, this level also introduces us to some of the worst enemies in the game. Zembar calls these spores. They look like basically floating parachute sugar cubes that explode. I don't know. Spores, sugar cubes, whatever you want to call them. They're awful. So, but you know, I mean, it's trying to be true to the movie, and I'm sure Marty had a heck of a time fighting his way out of Oak Park Cemetery that one time. You know, that one time he had to go there. So this level also introduces us to a interesting, and by interesting I mean terrible, mechanic of trying to jump up platforms using enemies. Apparently the developers decided that not only was it necessary, but they were going to make us do a lot of it later. So there's actually certain parts of the game where that is a required technique and is just plain awful. Grab that extra life there for safety. Not that it helps, sometimes you just run into spores. So one of the reasons I really hate the spores in this level is because they have a bad tendency of catching you at exactly the wrong time when you're trying to get up a hill or something along those lines. So unfortunately, we do have to be really cautious going up this hill now, because if I catch one more hit, I will die and lose all the progress. And we can't have that. So there we go. We're good. So I'm pretty much going to be able to finish this stage now. One last little thing. This despawns all the spores that would be in this last section. Just jumping that one point there instead of vaulting over it. So, I snagged an extra life, but at the cost of taking 2 hits. Also, just listen to those machine guns just going off into the distance. You just never forget that. It haunts you. So we're back in the Pleasure Paradise, and it's pretty clear Biff doesn't want us around. So now he's got his private military inside the casino, even in the back rooms. Now I don't know why Biff can't have something practical in his casino, like an elevator or something, but apparently we have to take really weird back rooms to get there. And, you know, what evil casino is complete without wooden doors and a metal paneling background with enough fire axes to cut down a forest, but no fire hydrants, no fire extinguishers, I mean. There's multiple paths through this level, but it's actually best to always take the left one. The right path is absolutely god-awful. Almost got spring physics there. There we go. So that's the end of 3-4. So we finally made it through all the back routes. Now we're going to go confront Biff and ask him about that almanac, find out where he got it. So, yeah, they're really good at making guns in this game. So now we have our next boss fight of Biff. This is a pretty interesting one because it's, well, first of all, we start off in the sky, and then there's this weird wire puzzle game that's really not at all helpful or useful. Except the bottom ones are really good for hitting Biff a bunch of times. You can usually hit him a couple times. If you're lucky like that, you can hit him 3 times. So that's a really fast kill, actually. So he takes 6 hits, but if you try and jump on him, you take damage. And sometimes he'll do this weird thing where he swings his billy club over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and you get stuck on top of him, and he takes no damage from that. So it's a really weird boss fight. Alright, but we figured out it was 1955 that he went to the past to give himself the almanac. So now we gotta go to the past to fix the present and the future. So yeah. So now we gotta go back to Hill Valley of 1955, and I gotta tell you, if you thought things were crazy in the future, or in the present. Welcome to 1955. So this is probably one of the most difficult levels in the game for most players, especially new players. I know this gave me trouble for the longest time. And even when we were learning to speedrun it, this level was just a bear because there's a couple of auto scrollers in it, and this tower. But if you jump just like that, you can skip the whole thing, and it saves about 45 seconds of boredom. Absolute sheer and total boredom. Oh crap, that's not good. I did not intend to hit that barrier back there. It completely threw off the rest of the run. I need both of those damage boosts to get through this level pretty quick, so I'll just get a chance to do that glitch again. So, and taking a hit in this area is just a mild inconvenience. Lose a little bit of time, but you get the health right away, so it's not a big deal. It's just nice to keep the lives counter up. I do always like to kill that guy though, because sometimes he can screw this glitch up if I time it wrong. So, alright, so we got that. That's much better. There we go. Now I should be able to get the damage boost that I want. Perfect. So doing that allows us to cut through the rest of those without having to deal with the terrible physics of this level. So yeah, Hill Valley is a happening place in 1955 with every kid on the street. They don't want to be like, you know, they don't want to be like the Duke. They want to be like the Karate Kid, a movie that won't come out for 30 years. And there's a bunch of spike balls and really weird derby balloons. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But apparently it didn't take long for Biff to screw up even the past. So now we have an unfortunate mandatory auto-scroller as a really good time for donation, announcements and things like that, because there's no way to speed this up. There's a possible route that we've explored a little bit that involves damage boosting off of the spikes and jumping across them, but I have yet to find a way to make it work. It's really tight. It might be Tazable, but for a second attempt, that was a pretty solid 5-1. So Strickland calls Biff a slacker, but at least we know he's got the almanac. So we're gonna go sneak in his garage and see if we can steal it. Almost got that. If you can get through this part without taking damage, it gets a little bit of extra health for the end, but I always like to damage boost through this section. Just because it's a little bit faster. You don't really need the health, but it helps a little bit. So, by the way, Biff's garage is apparently really big. And for whatever reason, there are these weird kids in it that like to drink really small sodas and make them turn into giant Pac-Man. Like really big Pac-Man cans. It's kind of creepy. Anyway, so this is another one of those level examples where they are trying to get you to do this weird mechanic of climbing up a shaft by hitting targets like cans, all the way to the point where you just land on the roof and you get stuck. It's a really bad mechanic because it's the only way to get up that stupid shaft, and it's laggy as heck. So there's really no good way to speed that up other than trying to find the right pattern of cans to stair-step your way all the way up. And on top of that, we get the return of the Karate Kid here. And Mega Man platforms. Everyone's favorite obstacle, right? Anyway, we have to wait for Karate Boy over here, because I need to get on the other side of that spring, and if he jumps, I'm going to hit that spike up there, and I don't want to do that. There we go. Got to hit it from that side, because if you don't, you'll hit that spike, and then we die. So, at some point or another, whether you do it at the beginning or you do it at the end, you pretty much have to wait for an enemy or a spike cycle. Ooh la la! Ooh la la! We've been had! Poor Marty, he looks so worried. So we gotta go track down Biff, and apparently Biff is at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. Home of all the Nest clones who are incessantly hungry, eating their, I don't know, looks like a dinner roll and a taco. Or a sandwich or something. Anyway, I don't know what those guys are or why they're there, but they're there. As well as the soda pop addicted kids. Yeah, I don't know about that little glitch there. It's weird. Sometimes it pushes you through and sometimes it does not. This time we got a little lucky. So. Unfortunately, I was not lucky with him, but that's okay. Anyway, that's pretty much the level, though. It's mostly just a straight run across here. Also, the devs decided to get creative and hide coins in boxes for no apparent reason. This is the only level that they appear in. And they serve no other function other than to make coins even laggier to collect. McFly, punch! Awesome. So apparently Doc can see us for some reason, and he's warning us about Biff's lackeys. So now we have to deal with Biff's other trio of lackeys. Skinhead matches in 3D. So in this boss fight, I'll use an attack technique that I don't use very often. It's called dash attack, is what we refer to it as. It's basically when you quick change directions after hitting an enemy with the front of your hoverboard. Whoa! Oh crap! That's not good. Man, alright, that was really bad. I could have died there, but I didn't. So, anyway, taking out Skinhead on the bottom is the best thing to do, honestly, at this point, because you want to start with him. Because using the dash attack is the hardest thing about this boss fight. After that, 3D is pretty easy, so I just go over and take him out. Trying to get matches in the middle here is really tricky though, because he's got that platform there, and there's about half the time you'll be blowing those party blowers and blocking your attacks. Pretty solid boss fight. Alright, so Biff gives us a shoulder chuck, calls us names, steals the almanac back. So now he's going to skip town and we got to chase after him. And apparently Hill Valley is definitely living up to its name of being a valley of some kind, because there's apparently just an absolute metric ton of rocks above the city that are just constantly falling in this level, and there's really no way to avoid them. Also, there are oil drums that shoot cannonballs for no reason. Anyway, it's really important to get through this stage with at least one extra hit point of health buffer, because I don't want to miss out on a very important damage boost at the end. That makes it a lot faster to finish the level. Alright, so here's probably the hardest jump to make in the game. And I did not make it, so I'll have to take it the hard way. Which is okay. It just means that I have to use these stupid rocks to get up here. Did I ever mention how awful this mechanic is? Especially when you have ice physics and lag. Still, as long as I can make it up this hill without taking damage, perfect. So, this stage will go well for the rest of it. So coming up is a little secret passage, sort of. It's an alternate pathway, and I've still got the extra health for it. This passage here, you can damage boost through right here, and doing so, and missing that platform, allows you to set up for a perfect entry here in these rocks that will give a perfect way up to that. Now normally that room is chock full of spike balls, and you have to really difficultly negotiate your way across them. But luckily, I was able to get across there and get that damage boost to work. Alright, so here we go. Final fight here, Biff. We're gonna get that almanac back, so... For whatever reason, we're crammed in between a bus, a truck that's throwing God knows what out the back of it. I don't know what Biff is throwing at us either. And time. So 36:11 is a pretty solid run. And for all of our efforts in getting back the almanac and writing the timeline, we're rewarded with an epic cutscene. The taste of victory. And that's it. That's the end of the game. Then they roll credits for about, I don't know, a few seconds. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So, it's a pretty decent length game. Fairly challenging casually. It took me about 2.5 hours of just beating my head up against the wall to beat this game the first time. But myself and my good friend Zembar have been playing this for about 3 months and have gotten the world record down to about 34 minutes. This was a pretty solid run, although I did screw up quite a bit a couple times, but I mean, all things considered, it's a pretty good run. So I'm pretty happy with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope to hear some good news. Oh yes, and what awful game would be complete other than a final ending of Finn? You can't say the end. We got to be real artsy fartsy and say Finn because it's artistic. All right, well. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you did, and if you didn't, I hope to see you guys anyway. Thanks for watching.